Let's see. Is anybody in here yet? It says one. That might just be me though. What up, YouTube? What up, Stormin? We already got two folks in here, Ryan. Can you believe it?
Yeah, hey, give me 1 second.
No,
Sorry.
look, we're live just because I wanted to get the ball rolling. But take your time. I'm doing my homework on Crichton right now.
Okay, yeah, once I got a new computer, so all this stuff is being weird. So 1 second.
Hell yeah, brother.
Turn this light off.
Man, I forgot when Creighton beat Kansas and everybody thought they were going to be hot shit this year.
Yeah, and then played Bama at Bama and got torched
That
defensively.
was a true road game, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And Bama went there last year.
Yeah, that's right. That was part of one of those very confusing losses that Alabama had.
All right, cool. I think we're good.
Feeling it? Yeah, we already got three people tuned in. That means they got the notifications on. Way to go, YouTube. Let me pull up the chat here. See if anybody's no nobody. Oh, nobody's chatting yet though. Everybody's just here to watch. I've been trying to rage bait some people online. We'll see if it works. Man, we got the weirdest fans in the entire league. I tell you.
We do. It's a mixture between the world is ending and you don't love your team if you're not critical.
Well, it never say anything bad about your team. It's like somehow if we say it out loud, it's like the Babadook. Say it out loud, it'll get us.
It's It really is. Yeah. I mean, I don't get it sometimes, but you know, uh it is full of burner sunshine pumpers, and then it's full of burner the world is ending. So like there's no middle ground where we can just all just have a good conversation.
Uh, I think the beat writers seem to be the best people to actually have like a real basketball conversation with.
Yeah, we do have some good beat writers that, Ferg,
Justin Lee, Nathan Deal at 247. He's really good.
Nathan King, I think it's
Or King, yeah, sorry.
Nathan King,
Wait, Nathan Deal was like a tight end for us or something, wasn't
yeah, yeah. You got two people mixed up, Luke Deal and Nathan King.
he?
And then Daryl Dappridge from Locked On, who's a family friend of ours. He knows ball for
That
sure.
wasn't who was on me with with me on War Report, was it?
No, that was someone else. I can't remember his name, but it wasn't Daryl.
I can't remember either.
All
All
right.
right, I'm about ready to start recording. How you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good.
All right, give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna blast us out on the old internets, and then we'll roll it in here. YouTube, thanks for being here as always. We appreciate those of you that jumped in early.
Man, Stephen Pearl and Dylan Cardwell went off in the post game.
As well, they should. I mean, like Dylan didn't have the best game, but at least he looked like he wanted to be there.
I'm hoping that that translates. I mean, we keep saying that every game, but
I mean, we've been saying that shit for 2 weeks, man. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of hearing the talk. I would rather they said nothing, you know?
Guy Howard with the 2 million, 2 trillion line. 0 points, zero field goals, zero three pointers, zero free throws, 0 0 0 0 2 minutes.
Yikes.
Call it the 2 trill. Chad with only 5 points. Dang.
He had some good assists tonight. He's very much becoming the Janai Broom feeder, which is great. Like getting them in switches has been working really well. That's about the only thing that's been working well.
Wow, everybody had under 10 shots, but Miles Kelly.
As very well should have been the case. Nathan King had a hilarious post today who said, "It's a good thing Miles Kelly is out of eligibility, or Mark Pope would be tampering like mad to get him to Lexington next year."
I mean, no kidding.
There's something about that gym, man. Something about that gym.
I hate how they asked him in the middle of the halftime uh, as they were going to half. They interviewed him, and they're like, you sure do like shooting in this place, huh? And I'm like, great. And yeah, then he came out and clunked a few in a row. Yeah, I'm like, I'm sure he's overthinking it now, but
No, regression to the mean was always going to happen. I'm not worried about it. He's still. What I'm more worried about is the next game because we'll talk about it because I posted that on our Twitter.
wow, Drake is legit. I didn't think they would hang around with Mizzou in there.
Are you kidding? They were one of the trendiest upset picks. They're
Yeah,
doing
but their only good win was Kansas State. I mean, they really didn't play a whole lot, and I just thought Mizzou athletically would just pummel.
Mizzou's got athletes, but they like to shoot, man. They don't like to drive. All right, you ready to? Kidding? They were one of the trendiest upset picks. Yeah, but there's two people in your watching this. Nobody in the chat. Brutal. All right, ready to start recording?
I am ready when you are.
All right, 3, 2. All right, everyone. We are coming off a March Madness victory. This is March, and your Auburn Tigers just beat the Alabama State Hornets in Lexington, 83-63. It's a 20-point win. The spread was 30.5, and I'm here with Storm and Norman to break it down. Storman, you're normally our analytics guy. You're the numbers guy. But I got to ask, man, what are the state of the vibes right now?
It's an interesting vibes right now. I don't really know how to put my finger on it. You want to feel confident. You want to feel good going into every single round, and you know it. I don't really get the sense right now. I know there's a weird shift in the fan base. So if you got one side trying to have the extremely positive vibes, and you have the other side that thinks, the world is burning down because, we're struggling with a 16 seed, the battle of the 3-3-4 up in Lexington. It's interesting vibes, but each game is its own now in March. So I we'll talk about it in a minute, but you got to think that at some point we got to see that team from earlier in the year, right? We got to.
Well, we certainly saw a couple of guys that have been pretty consistent for us throughout the entire year. We posted some graphics and some stat information for you on our social media pages, and Auburn's got some elite shooters, and the most elite shooter we picked up this year was Miles Kelly. And Miles Kelly simply went off in Lexington again. Probably a good place to start our MVP discussion for tonight. Miles Kelly finished going 8 of 16 from the floor, 7 of 15 from deep. He grabbed 3 rebounds. He managed to mostly stay out of foul trouble tonight. He had a block, and he finished with 23 points. The kid from Georgia Tech can ball, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, all year he's been just our most, I wouldn't say consistent shooter, but our most dangerous shooter. When he sees that ball go in, you got to know there's going to be a couple more coming after that. And we have some really good plays at the beginning of almost every game we play. And I can remember we first saw this, not at the beginning of the game, but against Vermont. And then definitely against Duke, when we came out and we were running things at Cameron, where he just sees the ball go in the basket, and it's like, all right, let's keep running more and more stuff for him. And you saw that trend again today. He saw that first shot go in, and immediately, had our first, really what, 9 points, I think.
Pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely hit, some of our first few points there. He's got to be my vote for MVP. He also, which is I find interesting because he typically finds himself in a lot of foul trouble or on defense, not, getting burned a little bit, with people driving to the basket. He led the team in minutes today, which I thought was interesting, 29 minutes. But you got to, when you're seeing the ball go in like that, he shot 16 shots, 15 of those were from three. Crazy game for him. You got to hope that translates. We're going to talk about the trend on him after big games here in a little bit, but he's got to be my vote for MVP for tonight's game.
Well, before we
Today's
push it
game.
too far, we got to talk about the reemergence of the player that New Jersey built, our electric spark plug off the bench, Tahad Pettiford, finally getting back to some scoring ways. He finished with 16 points tonight, 5 rebounds, and more importantly, 5 assists. Auburn finally got back to distributing ball a little better tonight. We finished the game with 16 assists and unfortunately 12 turnovers. So that ratio is not quite where you want it to be, right, Ryan?
Yeah, no, it's not. Tahad had a great game. I don't think he pressed the issue too much, but of course, coming back from the Tennessee game, having a zero, across the board, it was a great come out party for him in the NCAA tournament. We're gonna definitely need him in his spark plug next game. I mean, in terms of the way that Creighton shoots the ball, defends, we're gonna need a sparky guy like him off the bench. And I think he's built for these moments. He's always been every game this year besides the last one, he has shown up. He has put double digits on the score sheet, and hitting some big shots there. When we needed them, especially towards the end of the half, and in the second half, with a bank and 1 3, which was great. I've never seen so many and 1 3-pointers by a team than us this year. It seems like almost every game we have one,
Yeah.
or every other
Getting
game.
at least one Chad Baker Mazar special. And of course, the player after my own heart, Tahad, was 4 of 5 from the free throw line tonight on a night where, once again, Auburn's free throw shooting was miserable. We're going to save that for the stat breakdown. Our player to watch going into this game was Chaney Johnson, in part because the last time we played Alabama State, we used Jalen Williams at that elbow cut as the zone breaker again and again and again. An undersized team like Alabama State, when you have the National Player of the Year at the 5, or even when he's playing at the 4 with Dylan Cardwell out there, you need help. And they threw a ton of zone at us today. And Chaney Johnson, he's missing a little bit close to the rim still, a little bit too close for my comfort, but he finished with 13 points, 7 rebounds, including 5 defensive rebounds. The defense is still there today, but only 5 of 9 from the floor in 28 minutes. So 13 points on 9 shots. Not the most efficient Chaney Johnson, but good to see him scoring again.
We needed to see that. I mean, there's been so many games in a row where it's like, where is he? He just disappears. We saw that a lot, in the previous couple years, especially with Jalen. Like there'd be games where he would disappear. This team cannot be great if Chaney disappears. We got to have him, especially in these type of games where last year against Alabama State, like you mentioned, they ran that 2-3 zone. In the first half, we shut the lights out. In the second half, I think we went 1 of 16 from three and absolutely let him back in the game. Became a kind of a closer game. I believe it was around the same score, if I'm not mistaken, when we played them last year. But there
I
was
think it was 80. I think it was 86-66. Yeah.
yeah, it was a close score, the same almost scored there. But they were going to run that zone to try to throw us off. They were running a lot of doubles at our big men, and Chaney really stepped up to the challenge in that. You're right. There's still some weird confidence in terms of finishing at the rim, but he definitely we need to gain that confidence back, especially with the matchups that we have next game. He is a huge key. Staying out of foul trouble. We almost most everybody did stay out of foul trouble today, but part of that's just because Alabama State's not going inside. They're just driving, not really going towards the rim. So not a lot of opportunities to foul, which I thought was great. But that's a key to Chaney's game, right? Is staying out of foul trouble, building that
Mm-hmm.
confidence around the basket, because that's going to be huge next game. It's going to be huge moving forward. We cannot afford for Chaney to disappear like he has the past few weeks.
Speaking of huge and moving forward, we can't close the MVP discussion without once again talking about the performance of Auburn's first unanimous first team All American player, number 4 in the program, number 1 in our hearts, the big man himself, Janai Broome. Another double double. He is now Auburn's single season leader in double doubles in a single season. Finished with 14 points, 11 rebounds, 9 of them were defensive boards, but only 1 assist and 3 turnovers. What was Alabama State doing so much that was able to frustrate Janai Broome's vision as a passer? Was it just that
They were
zone?
swarming. They were swarming like hornets. They were their plan was every time he got the ball and turned his back, they were right there. They were doubling every time he got the ball, especially on that 2-3 zone where they forced him into the corner. There was a couple possessions in a row where they came behind him. He had the ball and they would come and pick it off from him. And it was almost like he never knew it was coming or he wasn't really paying attention. And that kind of what got them back into the game there in the first half was those type of plays, those type of doubles where they were coming from behind him and knocking the ball out, and then they were hitting in transition and getting easy layups. Um, there seemed to be a sense of I'm not gonna say laziness, but urgency in a sense of when he got the ball, and we weren't really looking to get him the ball, especially when those doubles were coming. They had a great game plan. Credit to Tony Madlock and that staff over there. They tried to throw everything at us, and they threw everything at Janai, and it frustrated him from the get-go. He didn't really get comfortable in himself till the very end of the first half. But those 3 turnovers, I think, all came in that first half and kind of sparked the run that Alabama State went on to close that gap early on.
Yeah. But the good news is we managed to keep all of our starters, with the exception of Denver Jones, under 30 minutes in this first matchup. We had a couple of injuries going away late that happened to Chris Moore and
President Dylan
Dylan
Bainey.
Cardwell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get some guys get a little bit banged up, which is never what you want to see in a game that you should win going away. And we weren't really going away until those last 5 minutes there. But part of the reason we were able to is without a doubt the sniper of Lexington, MK Ultra. And I think we got to go ahead and crown Miles Kelly the Jungle Podcast MVP for this inaugural March Madness game. Congratulations, Miles Kelly. Ryan, let's take a
Yeah,
look at
I
some of
guess
these.
that's his first NCAA tournament game, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I'll have to go back and check that, but I
Yeah, I don't know if
believe
I
you're
don't think
correct.
I don't think he played it in one at Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Maybe
Oh.
I'm wrong. I can't remember.
Well, either way, congratulations to him. Congratulations to Auburn. We moved to 12-1 in the first round matchups in the NCAA tournament, which we love to see. Last year,
Yep.
as an aberration continues to fade into the rearview mirror. But one thing that can't fade into the rearview mirror are some of these team stats. Ryan, where do you want to break down with some of these concerning trends that we're seeing from the number 1 overall seed, Auburn Tigers?
It's got to be free throws. I mean, it's got to be free throws. I don't know what has happened to this team, and especially over the past few weeks, the free throw percentage has nosedived completely, and it's almost affecting guys that are really good and consistent free throw shooters. I mean, Denver, who you hardly see miss any, missed 2 today. Chad had that streak. It almost seemed like once Chad's streak ended, it like affected everyone because then he started missing some. He hasn't gotten in a consistent rhythm of free throw shooting since he missed that one where the streak was broken essentially. But
And I have to own
56%.
my part. I have to own my part in that because I predicted that Tahad Pettiford would miss less than 5 free throws throughout of conference play. And with his poor free throw shooting over the last 2 weeks, Tahad Pettiford is now under 80% from the free throw line, which
Yeah,
means that for every 10 free throws that he takes, he's going to miss at least 2 of them. So that's leaving a possession on the board right there.
yeah. I mean, this is what made us so great in out of conference play is that we shot free throws so well. There was hardly any issue in Maui with Janai Broome shooting free throws. We raved about that throughout out of conference play, and what really separated us in these games because we weren't leaving points on the board at the free throw line. This is this could be the separator next game. We're going to be going inside. We're going to be they're going to probably call this game differently than the game we had today. We cannot afford to shoot 56% again, or it's going to be just like Tennessee. This has been a huge trend in the wrong direction. And look, I mean, Janai again, 4 of 9. This is what got us out of the tournament against Houston a couple years ago. It's a really concerning trend. And I know they sent pictures of them practicing, beat reporters say it, but it's not translating. And it's starting to affect our guys who are actually really good at free throw shooting. So that's got to be
Yeah.
my concerning stat line, from the game. I think overall, what's also pretty interesting, and we could talk about it in a minute, is the trend of like us getting fast break points. We don't get out in transition that much. And I thought we were going
And when
to
we do, we
today.
don't score.
Yeah, and I thought we were going to today, and we didn't at all. We didn't force the issue at all. And maybe that was part
Yeah,
of the
there's
game plan. I
two.
don't know, but um, it's always
This has
shocking.
been this has been one of our best half court teams ever. And I don't want to take that away from them.
Absolutely.
But the thing that hurts you in being a half court team and not being used to a team that's going to finish in transition is that when you actually force and turn teams over, you're not getting points out of it. I mean, we lost the turnover battle today, 10-12, and we scored 15 points off of those 10 turnovers. That means we didn't even get 2 points for every turnover that we forced there. So even though we're buying ourselves those extra possessions, we're not making the teams pay for it. Now, granted, Alabama State was one of the top 5 teams coming into this tournament at protecting the ball and their turnover ratio. So we may not see a team that is as good at taking care of the ball as ASU is again, but you got to remember we're in that stage, man. It's win or go home. Anytime we're watching this team, it could be the last. And when you think about some of the most fun teams that we've had watching the Auburn Tigers, it's been that flying Tigers style of offense. Turn you over, get in the open court, go to the rack, get the and one, do 3 points the hard way, and really change the momentum in your favor. And it just feels like this team is a little bit more methodical in how they try to put you to sleep.
Yeah, in a close game in the second half, that's obviously what you want, and that's why we pound teams into the ground in the second half. Um, in almost every conference game and out of conference game. Um, we regained control of this game today and should have, we won handily like we should have. However, I will say that if we don't clean up the laziness, we stop settling for threes, play with intensity like we did earlier in the year and hit free throws, we will go home Saturday. Like that's just point blank what's going to happen. So there's all those things in that mixture that we saw throughout the season, and especially early in the year when the intensity was there, and it's been lacking for the past few weeks. We will go home Saturday. Those are obvious concerning trends that the fan base we can all say and laugh at that and brush over it like we'll be fine, we'll be fine. Guys, we've been saying that for 3 weeks now. This has got to be a wake up call. And I know we won. I know people are going to say it was not close in the end, but there's been too many concerning trends and too many times throughout the year where we get a lead and we let teams evaporate that lead on 9-0, 11-0, 11-1 runs so easily. So that was another trend that's not on the stat line is like those type of runs that we just let Alabama State right in the game after we took control. Um,
If you recall our team 2 years ago, it was a huge problem where we would go these 4 and 5 minute stretches without any points. Sometimes we were able to hold the other team to only 2 or 3 baskets, but it feels like this team has been having more of those the last couple of weeks. These long stretches of 4 to 5 minutes where you've got the same 5 guys out there and you just cannot buy a bucket. And
well,
you're
yeah,
right. In March, that's what's going to kill you, especially when you look ahead to this Creighton team that we're going to play on Saturday that absolutely shot the lights out today against Louisville. Every time Louisville tried to make a comeback, they were coming down and just raining threes on them.
yeah. Louisville, man, not a great defensive team there, and did not look disciplined on the defensive end. But we've been prone the past few weeks to letting guys get easy, quick looks. We keep thinking that we're going to correct it, and it happened, kind of again today. And a lot of that stems from, rebounding. And yes, we out rebounded Alabama State as we should have. But they got a lot of easy open threes because of a couple of offensive rebounds where they just crashed the boards and we didn't. Um, that's been an obvious trend in the wrong direction ever since the Texas A&M game. And you know, Creighton, they run an interesting offense where Kalkbrenner, um, likes to stand at the top of the key and like not actually post up or get inside that much. So it's going to be interesting to see how we defensively, match up with him. Maybe a little bit like Purdue, but with a better, more versatile big man. So maybe it won't be as bad as we think it might be. And their guards aren't as athletic as some of the guards. Obviously, we face in the SEC, but they've got some methodical. They're not going to turn the ball over. They are they run some really good sets. So it's going to be we got to get back to the disciplined way that we've been playing defense earlier in the year, and that's not been a trend the past few weeks, and needs to cause concern for the fan base in that way because it just takes one of those games to go home, and you can't allow that to happen again.
Yeah, we're going to read through some of the stats here. The great thing about Auburn going into the tournament is we did a couple of things really, really well. We take care of the ball really well. That's part of what makes us the nation's most efficient offense. We tend to get a lot of value out of the possessions that we do have. But one of the bigger things has been our 3-point defense. We have been an elite team for the course of the whole season, when you look at it as a whole, of defending the 3-point line. I mean, even in some of our losses, I'm going through here trying to compile the numbers right now. But even in the losses lately, that seems like it's something that has been consistent for this team, with the exception of that A&M game where, they were just freaks and shot the lights out. They shot 36%, which I think is almost 4 points, 4 or 5 points better than they have for their whole season average. But against Alabama, that overtime loss, 31.8%. Against Ole Miss in the tournament, 17.4%. And against Tennessee, a team that we saw get super hot early and we were finally able to contain and put some of our own runs together, 26.3. Those are all really good numbers. You want to hold teams below a third, like every third shot going in for sure. And when you look at Crichton's 10 losses this year, they pretty much all have that in common. They had a game they lost against Georgetown where they shot 36%, and a game they lost against Texas A&M where they shot 35%. But beyond that, all 8 of their other losses, they were held below 30% from behind the 3-point line. So fighting through screens, running guys off the line deep, and being aggressive in our closeouts is going to be the only way that we can get past Creighton.
Yeah, and they've got some guards that they've been there for a while. Ashworth is one of them. He's a really old point guard that shoots well. You got to hope that our matchup's favorable there with Denver, and I think on the defensive end we can match up well enough to run them off the 3-point line. It's just their best players play a lot of minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So are we going to be able to get them in foul trouble? Are we going to be able to just get into a rhythm offensively and tire them out? That's going to be where our depth could hopefully come in. And it's been interesting because we just look tired. I don't really know what it is, that lack of urgency, energy. So you want to see that come back in some way, shape, or form on the defensive end and let it translate over to offense, or it's going to be it's the worst
I think
case
there's something
scenario.
to be said. I think there's something to be said for Alabama State getting their first NCAA tournament win ever 2 days ago on a last second buzzer beater, coming in hot, coming in raring to go. I mean, you think about it, as a 16 seed, you've already made history with your first ever tournament win, and now you're getting a shot at the number one overall team. Of course, Alabama State was going to come in and play loose and play like they had nothing to lose. But you're absolutely right about the depth of this Crichton team. Their top 4 guys all average more than 30 minutes a game.
Yeah,
So
including
getting them into
Calvert.
foul trouble, yeah, getting them into foul trouble, forcing them to rotate in ways that they don't want to is going to be huge. Let me read you some of their bench points in their 10 losses. Against St. John's, 2 bench points. Against Xavier, 9 bench points. St. John's again, 5. UConn, 11. Marquette, 15. Not bad. Alabama and Georgetown, only 8 points off the bench. San Diego State, 7. A&M, 2. Nebraska, 8. They're frequently getting less than 10 points off of their bench in their losses. So when we rotate and we bring in our second unit, we cannot have a fall off. We have to have Cheney Johnson crashing inside, grabbing boards, and putting up dunks. We have to have Dylan Cardwell continuing to extend his defense to the perimeter. And we got to have a guy like Tahad Pettiford, like we had tonight. 5 assists from Tahad, by the way, to go with his 3 turnovers. So distributing the ball well, finding the open looks. We did a pretty good job of getting out of the traps tonight. But I think some of that just has to do with the athleticism. I mean, we have watched teams now for 4 straight weeks and 4 straight games trap our point guards really hard. Against Ole Miss, we were able to get the ball out of there. And today against Alabama State, most of the time, we got the ball out of the traps and found the open man. We seem to be really struggling against these double team looks, finding that guy that's open. I don't know what we're going to have to change, but I know guys have got to get their vision up, and we've got to find a way to get Janai Broom back involved in our passing game.
Yeah, a lot of that's probably has to do with just the film is out too. I mean, you got to grind to win games now. Everyone knows what you're running.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what everybody else is running. So the things that were working early on in the year, which is why I think, in these one game elimination games in a tournament style setting, you hope to get back to that early season advantage where you're not seeing the same teams over and over again in your conference. And maybe that can be an advantage, but also, Creighton runs a lot of really good stuff, and they run stuff off of their, you know, they have really good options off the stuff they run. So you got to believe that they probably didn't show everything they had today too. So it's going to be a chess match for sure. And the bench points is a great point. That's going to be something that we need to watch for on Saturday is what is their bench doing? And we know that we have some guys off our bench that can come in and make a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So we got to hope that's an advantage going into Saturday. It's a crazy draw, playing a team that finished second in the Big East in your second, round game. But that would have been the case too if Louisville would have won. They were the second in the
Yep.
ACC. So, it's a weird scenario.
This committee does not want us to be great, man. What's up with that? Why don't they want us to be great? They really don't want us to get to the Sweet 16.
It's yeah, and people hoping that Yale would win and knock out A&M for us. That's not going to be the case tonight. So
Yeah, I think that's going to bust my bracket.
yeah, if we're hoping for either a rematch or a different opponent than Texas A&M in Sweet 16, we might be on a head into a collision course there in Atlanta if we could get past Saturday's game.
Yeah. Well, here's one thing that gives me hope about Saturday's game too. Creighton is currently averaging 12.6 turnovers a game. You know how many turnovers a game we're averaging, Ryan? 9.2.
Okay.
We are still under 10 turnovers a game. That is Matt's barometer for what makes a good team that's taking care of the ball. It's why we were top 5 coming in ball security. We played, I think, the number 3 team in ball security today, and combined 22 turnovers and 21 assists. That seems about right. We got really lucky in that we built leads and were able to play from ahead. Alabama State led 3-0 and then never led again for the rest of the game. We're going to find out just how bad this team wants it when they go down to Creighton, because they will at some point lose a lead to the Blue Jays, and we're going to see what kind of fight they have. This team's talent is unquestionable. This is the most talented team we've ever had. We've got the best big man that has ever come through Auburn, surrounded him with 38% plus 3-point shooters. We got a whole bunch of seniors. We got one of the best freshmen in America. Like, what more can you ask for from this team? Right? Like how much better could this team have been built? Maybe you want to add some NBA pro prospects in there, like an Isaac Okoro, but it's hard when they're not going to get the minutes they probably want, like they will in other places. I'm so sad to know that at any moment we'd have to let this team go because they've been so special all year, and you just want them to live up to that. You don't want to look down and see Chad Baker Mazzara 1 of 9 from the field. You don't want to look down and see that Janai Broom and Cheney Johnson and Tahad Pettiford had 9 turnovers altogether tonight. Like, you want to see this team live up to its maximum potential. You want to see this team hit 75% of its free throws. I don't think that's a crazy ask. We are averaging on the year. Let me go back and see if I can find this. Free throw percentage on the year, 74. So just under 75%. And today we were absolutely abysmal. And it's the same way that it was in the SEC tournament. I mean, against Tennessee, we could win that game if we make our free throws. So you just hate to see a team that has been so fun to watch and is so clearly so talented and so clearly loves Auburn. I mean, think about
Yeah.
the number of games that Chris Moore has played for Auburn. This team features the winningest Auburn player in history, the captain, Dylan Cardwell. You think about a guy like Denver Jones, who could have gone anywhere after scoring 20 points a game at FIU, but as an Alabama kid born on the red clay, he wanted to come back and win at Auburn. Chaney Johnson, a guy that took a chance to step up and has never asked to be anything other than what he is on this team, which is a fantastic role player. And you know what? Even Chad, for all his zaniness, for all of his shrugging his shoulders, for all of his getting the corner turned on him by SWAC point guards going to the cup, like this, I love these guys. I love this team. They're so good. You build a team in a lab like this to go out and win in March. There are weapons everywhere. They're strong defenders. They're old. They've seen a lot of basketball. You just hope they can put it all together in the right moments because that's why we love March, man. It is absolutely madness.
I think that's part of why we get so frustrated, and why there's been so much concern over the past few weeks is that we've seen just how good we can be, and they just are not living up to that recently for whatever reason. The team that we saw that fought and was so physical early on and that we fell so in love with, it's like that team has where has that been since we cut down nets and we won the championship? It's like that fire and that passion, for whatever reason and whatever factor has gone away. And so I would agree. It's like we want this so bad, and we may never have this opportunity again to be in this position. And that's why it's so. I wouldn't say that we're lashing out, but it's like, guys, wake up! Like, what is it going to take? Why are we throwing the ball to nobody on the court? When we're up by
Oh,
16 to 18. Why are we being so lazy with our passes when like these type of games you should be very all you have to do is be very methodical. Run your stuff. It can all come so easy and if you just do the right things and we like at some points today we're just not doing the right things. And when those things happen, it let a team like Alabama State, they got loose, they hit a couple baskets, they got in transition. The next thing you know, it's down to one with like 2 minutes left in the first half, and the crowd is getting into it. Like those are the exact things that you do not want in a type of game like this, and we almost let it happen again. And yes, I know we kind of locked in and focused in there when we needed to, but like that shouldn't be the case in these
not
type of
against not against a team like Alabama State. Not when we have such an overwhelming physical advantage, and not when you've got a guy like Miles Kelly shooting the freaking lights out. Miles Kelly was the only one who we needed him to be tonight. We brought him in here to be a crazy 3-point shooting freak. And a couple of times this season, he's shown us that guy. Now, he's probably going to regress to the mean, right? In the next game. We've seen him do that before. After the Vermont game, there was a bit of a hangover against Houston. After the Richmond game, there was a bit of a hangover against Ohio State. And then after the Kentucky game, there was that hangover against A&M. Now, granted, Ohio State, A&M, and Houston, all elite defenses. Much better, I think, than Crichton's defense is going to be tomorrow. But we should still probably expect him to be more in that 2 of 6, maybe 3 of 7 range. You're probably not going to get another 21-point performance or 23-point performance out of Miles Kelly tomorrow. So who's going to step up? Who's going to hit shots? Denver Jones cannot go 1 of 5 from deep. Chad Baker-Mazara cannot go 1 of 5 from deep. Tahad Pettiford hit a lot of his shots in the second half to help stretch a lead. We need Tahad Pettiford to be part of building a lead. We need him to see that ball go in early and start feeling dangerous. We need him to do more of what he did when he's attacking the cup, getting those and ones. And same thing for Chaney Johnson. We need to see him finish inside when he gets at that elbow cut. And we need to see him crave contact. We finally saw that from Broom late when he was stuck sitting on 9 points for a while. He finally got that ball low on the
yeah.
block and started going through dudes' chests. We need more of that.
Do you think that the narrative that Janai doesn't get a lot of foul calls is starting to get into his head a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. And I
I
think
I,
the
I think
one
so
thing that
too.
I've been noticing about March, and I know Ryan, you watch a lot more ball than me, so tell me if you feel this is the case. Um, Folks are getting away with a lot more contact inside than I think they did in the regular season. I think referees are a lot more reluctant to blow the whistle.
Well, because they get graded to move to the next round too.
Yeah,
Like if they call a bad game, they're not moving on to the next round as well too. So there's many different angles that could go into that, but yes, the whistles are tighter. Um, I think the hand checking is a little less. And maybe that can help us and play to our favor because we do that a lot. We're outside of the realms of the SCs with the Pat Adams, the Doug Chows,
Yeah,
those type of guys that like to
thank goodness.
dictate games a little bit. It was nice that today we never once sat there and said, "Wow, what a terrible call." Like I don't think ever I texted that to anyone today.
Janai's third foul was a little soft, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, but at that point, like you're right. I mean, it was a soft foul, but like it wasn't affecting the game in any sense.
Yeah.
And
And we did hear Janai say this after the Alabama game, where he had the fadeaway at the end of regulation that forced it to go to overtime, and we saw it against Ole Miss. We were up only by one possession late, got the ball to Janai on the block, and he went through a dude's chest and got the and one to put that lead to 6. And he said after the game, "I'm not going to fade away in that moment anymore." And we didn't see it in the second half against Alabama State. We're going to need that against Creighton. Creighton's got size inside. I know Matt called their 7-footer more of a finesse guy, but he's still a big body, and Janai's going to have to go through contact to get his buckets. And so is Chaney. I know Chaney
yeah,
trusts his floater and his football. We need that dude that was destroying rims in Nashville to come back. We
yeah,
need.
it's going to be interesting to see how they attack Janai. Are they going to let him go one on one and say beat us, or are they going to throw doubles? I it, Defensively, it's going to be an interesting matchup to see what they throw at us, based off of their potential size. I'd like to see them try to isolate Janai and see what type of things they throw at us. I think they'll probably see that at the beginning of the game, or like almost every other game this year, run a couple things for Miles to see if he's still seeing a big rim and get that going that way and open up the game, with hopefully a couple threes there that opens up a little more offensively where we can get it to Janai and run some things in terms of an inside out. But that's going to be something to watch there towards the beginning of the game is what we do early on to see what they're throwing defensively at us because that's going to dictate, I think, how that first half's going to kind of flow.
I was impressed by our effort late against Tennessee, and it came too late.
Yep.
And the only thing that I'm really afraid of going forward is, are we going to be in that situation against Creighton? Are we going to be down 10 with 5 minutes to go, finally lock in and score 9 points in a row, but we can't quite take the lead back and put the pressure back on them? Because that is how March Madness works. If you can get ahead by enough, it's so much easier to stay ahead than it is to chase. And you don't want it to be going back and forth because St. Francis found that out the hard way on Tuesday against Alabama State. If you are in a one possession game late, March is when craziness happens. I think we are a better basketball team than Creighton. I think we're a better coached basketball team than Creighton. I know Doug McDermott's a great coach, but I'm riding with BP and those boys all day. I'm riding with Burgo. I'm riding with Stephen Pearl. I'm riding with Scott Pruitt. I'm riding with all of them. Chad Pruitt. I'm riding with all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm riding with our All-American Janai Broom. I'm riding with our senior point guard Denver Jones. I'm riding with our freshman point guard Dahad Pettiford. I believe this team can do it. But I've also seen this team not live up to their potential. And that is going to be the difference. Do they play like the number one overall seed? Or do they play like we've already hung a banner?
Yeah, because Creighton's probably licking their chops right now. They got all the momentum in the world. You know, they went and absolutely destroyed a Louisville team with a home crowd today. Right? That did not affect them one bit, and we were all complaining like, "Oh, we got put in the Lexington Regional where only has an hour drive." They didn't even get out of the first round,
Nope.
so that didn't affect them at all. And they're probably watching us play and like, "Man, this is going to be the targets on our back. Let's go get them." In terms of Auburn, the targets on our back. So Creighton's probably like, "Hey, we got nothing to lose here. They got everything to lose." So that's a mindset thing that I just waiting for the team for just to click back on, just click back on just one time, and then we're back and we have a home crowd in
Atlanta.
uh, in Atlanta, yeah, and I'll be there.
And look, we're
But
not going to look too much further ahead because Ryan said it right. Like This team has got to lock in, and they got to lock in right now. We're going to be here cheering for them. We're going to be live. We may not be live Sunday right after the game or Saturday right after the game. We're going to try to be live at some point Saturday night. We may have a special guest depending on the way things go. But folks, thank you for joining us. Thank you for riding with us this season. Ryan, it was an ugly game, but me and Charles got to know, are you still having fun?
I'm always having fun until I'm not having fun, so I'm still having fun.
We're having fun as long as the season is still going. Mwah! War Eagle Charles, War Eagle Ryan, War Eagle Jungle Auburn podcast listeners. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
This is March.
Woo! YouTube, y'all were so quiet tonight. We only had a brand new listener that wanted to chime in. Boo Boo Bear, apparently. I don't know who that is, but thanks for being here. We hope you had a good time. Ryan, thanks as always. Uh, man, I wanted to feel good, and all I feel is more nervous.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, um, Kansas out of the tournament. They just lost to Arkansas.
Oh, good. I think I had them as one of my upsets.
Um,
Hey, Connor Feemster's got a question. What would you consider a good result for this team?
good result is in like the tournament or
Why don't we answer that in two parts? Because I'm going to say right now, a good result for this team would have been to cover the spread today. The spread was 30 and a half. All right. And we are 30 points better than Alabama State. And we didn't play like it. We went for incredibly long stretches without a basket. And even if we had just stretched the lead late, just hitting shots, looking good, feeling warm, it was a messy game all the way through the end. The only person that seemed to be really hot late was Tahad. We sent Janai to the bench with about 4 minutes left just to get him out of there and keep him protected. When it comes to the tournament, we are talented enough to get to the Elite Eight easily. All right, we're a better team than A&M. We're a better team than Michigan. We're probably a better team than UC San Diego, just because I think UC San Diego relies so heavily on the three. Um, and those are the only teams that we could match up with before we get to the Elite Eight and see who we've got. So that's it for me. But it's gonna be hard not to feel disappointed if this team doesn't go to another Final Four.
yeah, I mean, a good result. I mean, you always want to aim for a Sweet 16. I mean, I think winning your first two games of a tournament setting is a huge accomplishment and result because that means you're halfway to your target. But my goal in my bar has always been set so high for this team, especially after Maui and the out of conference schedule. Um, I mean, I am disappointed if we do not make it to the Final Four. I mean, I'm being dead serious. That's how, uh, because you just never know when you have this opportunity again.
Yeah.
Yes, you could get a team that's not as great as us. You know, the 2019 team. People always forget just how mid of a regular season that team had, and like how we limped into the tournament, and then we went on a historic run. Like those don't really happen that often. I mean, they happen, but this is a type of team that you are built to make these runs. And
You know who that team ran into? That team ran into a Virginia team that was like 30-4 that had done exactly what we did this year. They tore through their regular season. They
and
only
was
lost
old
like,
and was
yeah,
old.
they were old, they were savvy, they were seniors. They only had lost to a couple of elite teams. They won one game in their conference tournament and then went out. So that Virginia team is a much better comparison for this team.
Well, hey, let's also say this too. Purdue, or so that Virginia team lost to UMBC the year before,
Yeah,
the 116 team. Embarrassing, of the most embarrassing things ever. Then the next year they won that championship. Purdue lost to Fairleigh Dickinson as the number one overall seed. The next year they won the national championship game. Not comparing comparisons here, but Auburn lost to Yale in a year where we were highly a four seed or whatever like that. Who's to say that we can't make that exact same run that those two teams made? Obviously, much different scenarios where they were very high ranked seeds, but the team last year had everything working for them at the right time to make a run in the tournament.
yeah.
You
We
know,
were last year's Florida team. We won a bunch of games late against really good teams, and we were a trendy pick coming in to actually make a run for the Final Four.
Yeah,
Uh,
and
no,
that's like a weird in a weird way. That's Michigan again this year
yeah,
because they won the Big Ten, but they like it. They have Trey Donaldson, which is just kind of funny. Um, and they might get picked off in the first round, the exact same way as we did. But yeah, I'm not comparing our run to what like Purdue and Virginia did, but there's some interesting trends there, and I just hope, you know, if we get past this, I don't think we're if we get past this week, I don't think we're losing in a Sweet 16 or Elite Eight. I really do not.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to flip that switch on Saturday for sure. I don't think we
Because
can win that game without flipping a switch and playing up to our potential.
yeah,
Creighton's just too good, and no matter what happens uh, with this season, like next year's team is going to be completely different. There's a chance Chad Baker Mazara comes back, but he's going to kind of be it. Like Todd Pettiford will probably come back just because I think NIL can compete with whatever sort of offers he would be getting from G League or from Europe. So I think it makes sense for Todd to come back. Um, but then the rest of it's going to be a new team, man. It's going to be a
yeah, that's
brand.
why I'm so locked into this year
Yeah,
because like I said earlier, may never know when you have this opportunity again, because there's so many variables involved. And yeah, we could rebuild and we could finish fourth in the SEC again and have a great season and be a
yeah. It's not to say that we.
5 seed, but like the history behind what we're doing right now, it's so hard to replicate, and you never know what happens. Like something could happen with the coaching staff, or I don't know. You just like there's so many variables that go on in the world nowadays, that you have to turn over, and then the culture and whatever you built on is different. Like there's just so many things I think people just have
even
to focus
even
on more.
even last year's team, if they had gone on a run, it would have been a little bit of surprise. It would have been a little bit of an upset. It's so rare for us to be in this position where we have expectations, and you just want to rise to meet those. Oh, what are you seeing, Ryan?
Sorry, Mizzou just clawed all the way back from being 12 down.
Oh shit! All right. Well, YouTube, we're gonna pop off here. We're gonna watch some more ball. See all of you Saturday. War Dame Eagle.